Yesterday, I told you that Donald Trump pulled former CIA Director John Brennan's security clearance. And of course, it was a completely political move. Nothing Brennan did really indicates that he is erratic or untrustworthy with whatever information he could have access to. And of course, as someone who's not actually consulting for the president, as many former intelligence officials do, it's not even really clear that he regularly was accessing or receiving classified information. But that was yesterday. The more interesting new angle on this, and this is something I didn't think about yesterday, was the removal of the security clearance, not only from John Brennan, but the threat of removals from other people, whether it's DNI Clapper, former DNI Clapper, or other individuals, James Comey. Could it be a pretext or a precursor to removing Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller's security clearance, which, by the way, would make it very difficult for him to carry out the Trump-Russia investigation? Now, but before we get into the details and what Senator Mark Warner believes about this, remember that the reality is that it's Trump who's the existential risk when it comes to security clearances and classified information. While taking away other people's security clearances, Trump welcomed a Russian spy recruiter to the Oval Office and spilled classified information and secrets to him that came to us from an ally, Israel, at the real risk of ruining that relationship with an ally. So the real risk with security clearances and classified info is Trump, okay, not John Brennan. Senator Mark Warner, who's the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, he put out the idea earlier this week that President Trump revoking John Brennan's security clearance may be setting up a pretext or precedent for doing the exact same thing to Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller. There's a certain evil genius to this. He is a former intelligence official. His role now is special prosecutor. It would be pretty tough for him to run the Trump-Russia investigation without a security clearance. And Warner said in a statement, about this, quote, "I worry whether this precedence will lead to the president trying to take away Mueller and his whole team's security clearance. This is clearly another effort to silence critics and not allow the Mueller investigation, and for that matter, our Senate Intelligence Community investigation to get to the bottom of this." I think that this is a very interesting angle because Trump has a long history of using varied methods to try to prevent that investigation from actually happening. He fired James Comey, at least in part, to interrupt and interfere with that investigation. He's angry that Jeff Sessions recused himself on everything related to Trump-Russia because had he not, Sessions could be running interference and trying to get that investigation to stop. He has been talking to Republicans in the House and Senate about, can't we get this thing wrapped up? His lawyers, in their negotiations with Mueller about the, we still don't know if it'll happen, possible interview with President Trump, we know that the idea of he'd consider talking to Mueller if Mueller commits to ending the investigation at a particular time, something I hope Robert Mueller would never actually consider doing, but certainly something that Donald Trump's lawyers might want him to do. Look at how far we've come. There was a time when President Obama killed a fly during an interview, and it was major news. There was a time when President Obama wore a tan suit on a day where he was discussing something serious, and he was attacked for days by right-wing media. We've got a president now playing politics with security clearances, the security clearance of top intelligence officials like former CIA Director John Brennan, and his supporters like it. They see this as Trump fighting to defend himself. And of course, the best way to defend yourself, the best way to clear your name if you are indeed innocent, is let the investigation finish and clear you if that's what it's actually going to do. Now, I do have one hope. Pulling the security clearance for a special prosecutor, if Trump did it, that would be very clear obstruction of justice, wouldn't it? And I would imagine, I would hope that whoever replaces Robert Mueller, because the investigation doesn't just end if you pull the security clearance from Robert Mueller, I hope that in that case, Mueller's replacement would realize that the act of pulling the security clearance from Mueller is an act of obstruction of justice and maybe act on it. I don't know. I want to talk to the Republicans, though. Where are you on this? If the Republicans are the strongest supporters of not only the military, as they claim to be, but also the hardworking men and women of our intelligence community, why are they silent? Why are they allowing people like John Brennan and everybody else who clearly is at risk of having their security clearance pulled? Why aren't they rioting, hypothetically, or at least writing letters or showing up on media and saying, we can't allow this to happen. We can't allow them to be treated in this way. And the answer is they're complicit in all of it, and they're not going to do a damn thing. The people that right now are running the House and Senate, Republicans in the House and Republicans in the Senate, they are not going to hold anyone accountable when it comes to Trump Russia or Trump's inner circle. The only path forward is to win in November and to win 2 Novembers from that in 2020. Because this stuff, you and I might see it and say, wait, there's someone doing an investigation and it's into the president, and then the president pulls their security clearance and now they can't do that investigation anymore. That seems like a problem. That seems like it should be a crime. That seems like there should be repercussions. We get it. The Republicans who are in charge have made it abundantly clear that they won't do anything about it. And they've even gone further and made it very clear that even if Robert Mueller were to come back in 3 months or in 6 months or in 9 months and say, here's the list of stuff, these are criminal actions by the president, you can't indict a sitting president, so you, Republicans in the House and Senate, need to move to impeach, they're not going to do it. They are not going to do it. There is no indication that that's something they're going to do. And thus, we've got to vote in November, and we've got to vote in the following November as well. We have a fantastic bonus show for you today. On the bonus show today, we are going to go into identity politics. Is that true? Well, not really. We are going to talk about an issue of identity, and that is the issue of Donald Trump having no African-American senior White House staff. Now, some people in the audience will say, David, who cares? Why are you categorizing people on the basis of their race? That's racist. You are the racist for even noticing it. I don't think that's going to be too many people in the bonus show audience, but maybe people listening to this preview. We are also going to talk on the bonus show about back pain, which is something we've talked about on the show quite a bit in terms of its connection to sort of Western work culture as well as psychosomatic pain. And there are some interesting new data points about back pain and sitting and people working in offices. And then we also have some very interesting announcements to make about the next few weeks for the David Pakman Show. And if you are curious about what those announcements are, these are, I would call these pretty major announcements about the David Pakman Show. Earlier in the week, we announced that we hit 500,000 YouTube subscribers. This is a different type of announcement. So if any of that sounds interesting, or if it doesn't and you just want to support the show, please consider signing up for membership at www.joinpakman.com. You can save 40% using the coupon code VOTESOON18. And of course, Patreon is always available. You can also access the bonus show when you make a pledge of at least $5 a month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. It is Friday. We will be taking your calls, answering your questions, and much, much more upcoming. Today's show is made possible in part by newsvoice.com/Pakman. We have talked on this program for year after year after year how American media is controlled by just a small handful, really, of huge corporations. And the problem with having media conglomerates, among others, is that you get filter bubbles, you get echo chambers. And this is something I talk about on the program a lot. There's a new media company that's come up with an interesting response to this problem. It's called NewsVoice. And what it is a website and app for both iOS and Android, which gives you a personalized news feed by aggregating a mix of mainstream media sources along with international sources and independent media sources, importantly. So any story you look at, you will get multiple sources. You can upvote stories you think are important so that more people will see them. You can add a story to the site. You can add a source that's missing for a particular story. And the idea is for it to be completely open and democratized as a source of news. And you can get every side of every story. Check out the app, which you can download for free if you go to newsvoice.com/Pakman. If you're watching this on YouTube, simply click the link below the video.